Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. And I am back with episode number 344. This is the third time I'm trying to get episode 344 off the books. One guest had to cancel, and then the other guest couldn't find the link. So this is the third take at episode 344. So if you're new to the show, we're all about overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, and inspiring you to break through whatever is stopping you from having the success in this life that you want. We are debuting a new background, so you guys let me know what you think. So we got I keep going backwards, right? We got the book over here, and now we're all about empowering, inspiring, igniting. So when people say ignite, what does that mean? That means igniting your soul. It's like, what sets your soul ablaze? We want to ignite that, and then we want to unleash you to the world. Right. So that's the purpose of this show. So if you're stuck in a rut, or if you find yourself just in the vicious cycle of trying something new and then reverting back to your old habits, we're here to inspire you to take that step. Okay, take that step. Like I had to take that step leaving the restaurant industry. I had to take that step just 2 years ago when I dropped the keys on the desk and walked away from my business. It's scary to make these decisions, but I'm right exactly where I need to be. So sometimes you're just one decision away from taking that leap to getting you to where you want to be. So if that sounds great to you, stick around, watch the entire episode, subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on any of the podcast platforms, and we live stream it here on 2 of my Facebook pages and on LinkedIn. So you can catch me anywhere. And like I said, this isn't about just hearing me speak. It's not just about listening to my guests. It's about really dissecting the message that we get into. And today we're going to be talking about building brave mental health communities with Justine Rodes. So a little bit more about her. She's the host of the Mentally a Badass podcast, where I had the pleasure of being a guest, sharing how her journey through faith, psychology, and living with BPD, which she'll get into, fuels her work as a mental health advocate. So Justine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robert. I really appreciate you inviting me on. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Thank you, as am I. So let me try to get the live stream up on my phone, because I like to see as people join, but it's not letting me. All right, so anyway, okay, where you joining me from?
Florida. I'm here in Florida.
Right, all right, what part?
Orlando.
Oh, nice. Big kid playground. I love Orlando.
Yeah,
I
no,
absolutely love it.
for real. It's feel like it's so underrated. When people think of Orlando, they think of the theme parks, and not everyone's a theme park person. But Orlando has so much more to offer, especially in downtown.
Absolutely, it really does. I could vacation there every single year. I absolutely could.
You could. Okay.
I could for a while though. Yeah, I think I went like 8 years in a row. It's like, because at my heart, I'm a big kid. So to me, just going to Orlando, just from like the airboat rides, the other parks like Gatorland, just seeing gators in the wild. There's so many things to do: carnivals, festivals, fairs, farmers markets. Like there's everything down there. Absolutely love it. You can tell as I just lit up like a big kid.
Yeah. I want to hear something really funny. So I've never been to Gatorland just yet. I definitely plan on going. And in my apartment complex, we have like one of those like big lakes we can walk around. And my boyfriend likes to go out there, and he found a gator, and he named him Gary. Right now, and he's a big nature guy. He loves that, and he would always like look forward to like go after work to see Gary. It's like his pet. But
awesome.
we have gators in our lake.
That's great. All right, so let's dive in. So how would you describe yourself?
That's a really fantastic question. If I can describe myself as a whole, is one, I want to say that I am a sensitive human being, but I want to say in a good light, because a lot of people, growing up, if you're someone who's more emotional or more sensitive, it was seen as a bad thing. So people are like, oh, just stop, you're too sensitive, or things like that. But being sensitive can also, being sensitive and emotional can also be something, I guess, we can talk to about driving, your passion and such. Because even though like I am a sensitive human being, like I still go to like the top and use that drive to do what I do, with being, a mental health advocate. So, I know we're going to like go into, down the road about like, what I do for mental health advocacy, but I just think like that's like the biggest thing. You know, I'm a sensitive human being. I'm a very loyal person. I can tell you that. And I would say that, um, from what people say about me is that I am, so I'm approachable. I'm someone that is easy to talk to, and actually a lot of guests that I spoke to, they always say to me that like I felt so comfortable, you know, talking to you and being able to open up, and they like thank me for that. So that's like a pattern that I've noticed with my guests. So when they tell me that, it kind of gives me like the idea of like the kind of person that I am. And I feel like, you know, being a person inside of yourself, you have your own like perspective of who you are being inside your body. But yeah, but when you see a pattern, it's like, okay, like someone else's perspective sees me like that, which also connects within myself. So I would say that I am a very like loyal, sensitive, and comforting person where people think like, hey, if I talk to you, I feel like I can be vulnerable and open up to you.
See, so on that note, so this was in 2007. I got certified in human dynamics slash true colors, and it was the first time where I understood the major personality types. So
Mm-hmm.
to your point, typically people who are sensitive, it's kind of looked at in a negative light. But once you understand the four personality types, because you have leaders, doers,
Mm-hmm.
thinkers, and feelers, and the world needs all of them,
Right.
all of them, you know, and like everybody has all four components within them, but everyone has a dominant trait. Because like there are times where I need to lead, there's times where I just need to shut up and work, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's times where I need to think things through, and there's times where I need to shut up and listen, you know. So understanding those four main types, I mean, like, and there's other personality traits as well, but those are the four main ones. And then going through that course, it gave me a completely different outlook. But to your point, being authentic is the biggest thing. Like for me, I'm brash, right? The name of the show
Mm-hmm.
is Shut Up and Grind, right? That's my style. But there are people that need my style, right?
Right.
If you're a more empathetic person, there's people who need your style. So the worst thing that people can do is to become something other than who they are. You know, which is
Yeah.
why I asked you, well, which is why I told you, you know, before we went live, to describe you at your core. And at your core, if you're an empathetic person, that's what you lean into. It's like, don't try to be some hard ass leader, because that's not you, right? And you're not going to serve the people that need you as you.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Like, I feel like I am a leader in certain aspects of my life when it comes to like my social media business. I have a client, and one person does like the content creation over there, and I am like the leader to her. Like, she has to come to me when it comes to like what to post and like what I have to approve. And I've realized that some people that I do lead, they're open about like struggling with their mental health, right? And I've been there. When I used to work for Disney, I was not the leader then. I was an employee, right? And I struggled a lot with my mental health, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about like the BPD, the borderline, and I also have bipolar disorder, where it was a little harder for me to do my job. But the leadership at Disney is really great. And basically what you're saying is like there are different leadership styles, but what Disney goes off more is like more empathy. So they do have moments where it's like, okay, like they have a system, and like if you call in X amount of times in a certain amount of period, then you're like, I have a reprimand. So they have like a system in place to an extent, but it depends of course where you work. Like if you are like struggling and you are part of like not that huge of a team, the leader is more like empathetic, and they give you resources. Like they have an employee assistant program that was free to an extent. A certain amount of visits were free that Disney paid for, and then they also refer me to do FMLA, which is allows me to call in X amount, like I think it was like 400 hours a year, which is more than generous. And so they had certain resources in place. And instead of the leader being like, get over it, you know what I mean? I was in their office, and they give me the tissue box. You know what I mean? And I felt safe because I've had bosses in my past that were not like that at all. I've had bosses curse me out, things like that, like throw a fit on me. And it's definitely very different. That's why, like, honestly, who knows how long I would have lasted at Disney if we didn't have that leadership style, because working at Disney is not easy. It's not.
Yeah.
And like, people can be really, like, not the people at Disney, the guests can be really mean. The job can have a lot of pressure. And then also just how the public has like these high standards, which makes sense because Disney will want like the high standards, and Disney's known for that. So just being a human working in, Disney, in that ecosystem, it's like you need to have a good leader. And it's not easy to be a leader at Disney. Like, they have to go through like certain types of training, like some special type of training. They even have like certain programs where it's like, I forgot what it's called, but it kind of sounded like a camp. Not like a camp, but it sounded like a certain program you had to be like referred to. Like, you had to be like kind of not volunteered, but like nominated or whatever. Like, it's not easy to be a leader. And
Yes.
so if I didn't have the good leadership, like, I probably would have quit like right away, pretty much. And that leader that I'm talking about, I still talk to her till today. And yeah, so I would say that definitely Disney leads more into that like empathetic leadership style.
Yeah, and the right employees are gonna gravitate to that.
Right.
Like it says, like for someone like me, I managed the restaurants before, and I found that the restaurants where the manager was a little more, I don't want to say mean, but strict. Well, you're strict.
Right.
Like the managers that were more strict produced the best numbers, for the business. And then the managers that were more lenient, the employees didn't respond as well. Because I always say people work up to whatever the standard is. Like even now, I'm sitting in a gym. Like I know I have the background, but I'm sitting in a gym, and it's the same thing here. If I set like whatever standard I set, that's what they work to. Like if I say, all right, everybody give me 10 push-ups, they'll do 10 and stop. Right. But if I set the clock for 2 minutes, say I'm gonna have you guys do push-ups for 2 minutes. Now they're doing anywhere between 20 and 35 in those 2 minutes just from switching the standard. And where that's relevant is like purposes of this show, purposes of your show, is for people to level up themselves. Right?
Yeah.
We can always hold other people to a high standard. Like you go to a restaurant, you expect good service and good food for your money. You expect that. You go to customer service at any place, you expect a positive outcome, but people doubt themselves. It's like give yourself that same expectation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, bear with me one moment here. Because I did want to talk about something when it came to the restaurant business, actually, that I was thinking about wanting to say. Because I used to work in the restaurant business as well, as a hostess. And when I told you before of how some bosses would like curse me out, it was actually in the restaurant business.
Okay.
And this guy he was the owner of the restaurant. So there was really no HR to go to. But I did work in another restaurant where it was a chain and it did have HR. So there was like 3 managers, right? And they all had different styles, I've noticed. And this one manager, his style was kind of like, hey, if I don't feel like you're ready, or not like you're ready, but like the problem is that I would see the schedule and I would get like 4 hours a week, and this girl would get like 30 or almost 40. We're all part-time workers in like college and such. And I go to him and I was like, why do you keep consistently giving me 4 hours a week? And then he was like, because, and then the way he explained it was like, if I was like if it was like a team and he puts up his best players, that's what he said to me.
Wow.
And I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry, but this is not like a football game or a baseball game. Like, you're messing with my finances. Like, even though like I am not like have a kid or pay. I mean, first of all, he doesn't even know that. He doesn't know my personal life. For all I know, I could have a kid. But my point is like, that's not the kind of like, also, you're not really telling me what I'm doing wrong. And the fact that you said to me, oh, I got to make sure I schedule my best players. I'm like, he said, that's what he said to me. And I'm like,
Wow.
that doesn't make, like, that's not right. Like, that's not, like, this is not a game.
Yeah.
So
True.
I had to go to a different manager, and then he reported to HR, and then they spoke to him, and then he doesn't do that anymore. But I guess, like you were saying, like, that could have been a style that he had, and that doesn't work with me. And it
Yes.
could have maybe worked with other, like, a server or something, because, but, like, for me, like, I also kind of felt like an outsider in, like, the restaurant business, because they kind, like you were saying, like, they had that kind of style. But I wanted to bring that up. I know that probably may have not answered your question.
No, no. It's good, but you're absolutely right. You know, it, before I took that course, I remember going back to 1994. I
Mm-hmm.
had I was a general manager of a restaurant, and like I got into leadership young, and I thought because I'm so young, I'm working with people who are 30, 40, 50 years old, and here I am, late teens, early 20s, and so I thought I had to like puff up my chest and rule with the iron fist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll never forget. In '94, I was 20 years old, and the area director came in to visit me, and he's like Rob, he's like, you know, your work ethic is undeniable. He's like, you put in the hours, you produce, the numbers speak for itself. He's like, but the way you talk to people, he's like, your ceiling is limited.
Yeah.
And I was like, like I really can't tell you anything else from 1994, but I'll never forget that conversation. So it was like I had to fix me. Here I am thinking all of these people need to adapt to me, right? But
Yeah.
I had to change my style, and so like I didn't become a total pushover, but just I had to learn to get my point across in a different light. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I learned about the personality types, I'm like, all right, I know I'm dealing with a person that needs it between the eyes. All right, I'm dealing with a person that needs the arm around and say, listen, I know you're doing your best. You know, and then the thinker's going to ask you 5,000 questions. You just have to be prepared, you know, to sit there. Like you're not going to have a 2 minute meeting with the thinker. It's just not going to happen. So you have to
Right.
prepare for it, right? And the doer just wants the bottom line. All right, what are we doing? What are we doing here, right? And then once you understand that, your connection with people is gonna just improve twofold, you know, tenfold. But with all that aside, let's get back to you. So BPD, if I remember, that's bipolar disorder, right?
No, it's a borderline personality disorder.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I'm glad I asked. All right. So walk me through your history with that.
Yeah, so I was actually, let me go back a little bit, because I did mention the bipolar. So I actually have both.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I
All right.
have
I thought so. Okay.
yeah, so I have and you're not the only one to get them, like, mixed up. A lot of people do
Yeah.
that, because
Mm.
BPD is not as common as bipolar disorder.
Yes.
So bipolar disorder, I was diagnosed when I was 17 years old as a result of a self-harming episode. And
Okay.
that can go like that going up to the self-harm episode was childhood stuff. And you can let me know if you want to go deep into that, or more just like,
If you want to, go ahead. If you feel it's relevant, go back as far as you need to.
yeah, so I can kind of do a summary instead of going through, like, my whole life story. But
Hmm.
I was bullied a lot as a child. I was bullied in my household. I grew up in a chaotic household with a mother who was mentally ill, a father who was neglectful, and a sister that would terrorize me. So
Oh
that's a good
boy.
summary. Yeah, I know, good times. Which I developed this, like, humor as a defense mechanism, coping mechanism. So
Yes.
yeah, so I dealt with, like, that was pretty much like my upbringing as a child. And because of that, I developed a core belief that I am unworthy, which brought that to high school. And I involved myself in a lot of, like, being treated like garbage, like with men and such, being taken advantage of, because I was looking for love in, like, the wrong places, right? And then
Yes.
naturally through that, I like pretty much hated myself throughout all of high school. Like, I had so much self-hatred, which would go into the self-harming part. And
Yeah.
so when I got, like, caught with the self-harming, my mom took me to a psychiatrist, which then I was diagnosed with bipolar 2, meaning that I get more depressive episodes than mania. With bipolar 1, because there's two different types.
Hmm.
Bipolar 1 is when it's actually the most dangerous one. So people can get manic to the point that they're out here doing illegal things.
Yes.
And I don't know for sure if they know that it's illegal. It's like their brain makes them go to a point where it's hard for them to control themselves. And then
Yes.
they can do things that are illegal. And those people kind of go like either to a mental health institution or behind bars, depending on how the situation, of course, plays out. Thankfully, I don't have that. I've never been in trouble with the law.
Mhm.
At least I never got caught. I'll have like my teenage moments, like running from the cops, but like nothing like too crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I would have more depressive episodes. So my lows would get so low where I would be very like suicidal. And
Okay.
so I had to go on medication for that because I lacked emotional regulation because I never really learned that. And when you're constantly being tormented as a child, it's like think about all that negative energy that is you're constantly, having. So yeah, I was put on meds for that. And then the psychiatrist said, "Oh, we think you have BPD, but we're not like sure." So the reason they say that is because when you're a minor, I was 17 years old, they don't diagnose BPD as for minors. And the reason of that is because BPD, their symptoms is like pretty much your moods go from high to low, high to low, high to low. Like it goes like pretty fast, like throughout the day. While with
Yeah.
bipolar, you can go really, really, really low, and then like in 2 weeks you're super high, and you pretty much just have a hard time to be like in the middle, right? So
Yes.
yeah, and so with BPD, it's more like kind of like that. And so when you're a teenager, you can do the same thing. Your hormones can be
Mm.
out of place. It's like you can't really tell if it's borderline personality disorder or if you're just being like a moody teenager, right? So that's why they didn't like diagnose me then. But I recently did go back to a psychiatrist about 2 years ago because I wanted to revisit that with them. And I said to them, I was like, hey, I was like diagnosed with this kind of when I was 17, but now since I'm an adult with my brain is fully developed, I want to know if I actually have this mental health disorder.
Mm.
And so when they put me through like the whole testing or whatever, they're like, yeah, you have like pretty much by the book borderline personality disorder. And then I learned from a therapist that I have quiet BPD. So the difference
Okay.
between, I didn't know what this meant until like about a year, 1 to 2 years ago. And the difference between quiet BPD and regular BPD is that people who have regular BPD, basically they take it out externally. Like you'll see
Mm.
these people like throwing things on the ground, throwing things to the wall, breaking glass. And then people who are internal, they would internalize all the pain, right? So
Yeah.
that's what led to the self-harming, is that I would have all of these like high emotions that it needs to go somewhere, right?
Yes.
So I took it out on myself. While like people who have regular would have really like bad relationships. I mean, I've had that too, but I've learned from my therapist that apparently I lean more towards the YPPD, which I didn't even know even existed, like I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much an overview of what both of those challenges are. But going back to what you're asking, because I kind of know I went on a whole like tangent about.
No, it's all good. So how did that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, when you ask how it affect me, I guess are you asking just like personally or like work related or like what exactly I guess we
Either
want to focus on?
either one, just navigating that, right? Because
Okay.
I'm sure that's created challenges in your world.
Right. So going back to high school and going back to grade school, as I mentioned before, that I had the feeling of being unworthy.
Yes.
So I developed all of that as a child, right? And then once I became a freshman in high school, typically people will be like, okay, I want to audition, not like, sorry, not like audition for a play or sign up for cheerleading, try out for this, try out for that. I didn't do any of that because I felt I couldn't do anything right. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
that's how I felt. So I missed out a whole year of doing an extracurricular, like a sport or anything like that because of that. So that held me back. So I would say
Okay.
that really hurt me there. But then I met someone when I was a sophomore in high school that believed in me, right? And
Yeah.
so that got me to like, okay, let me try for the play and see how it goes. And I went in there pretty much with a low self esteem. But when I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can actually do something right. So that helped me throughout high school, and then my grades were getting better too. So really, like, I had this one person that believed in me, and then I was able to, like, okay, like, I'm not all of these thoughts that were embedded in my head from all the bullies that I had growing up, right? So that was, like, I would say that was my turning point. And then in college, I actually did pretty well in college when it came to my grades. I was always making dean's list. But who
Yeah.
know how I would have done if I didn't have that one person, right? And then so going from there to, work, career work wise, I would say the biggest time it affected me was when I was working at Disney. Those last couple of years where I was going into a very deep depression, because when I am dealing with a lot of stress, it flares up all of my symptoms of bipolar disorder. And
Mhm.
so I start, like, all the coping mechanisms that I've learned to, help myself to not go into a dark place or not go to, like, high, and it's just kind of all went down, like, into, like, out the window, because my stress was higher than what I could manage. And since I couldn't manage the stress properly because it was constant every day at that job, and since I couldn't handle it, I started relapsing.
Mm.
And I like to talk about how, like, with my, because when you hear relapsing, you hear if someone was like a drug addict or this and that. Like, I
Mm.
believe there are relapses of people who struggle with bipolar disorder. It's like we can learn on how to cope and, like, be on medication and things like that. But then once a huge life altering thing happens to you, it can put you into, like, a dark suicidal, like, feeling if you don't know, like, the proper tools to not get there, right? So I
Mm.
had to go on, as I mentioned before, FMLA, which is called Family Medical Leave Act.
All right, hold on,
And
hold on. Let me pause you. Let me pause
yeah,
you right there. All right. I wrote that down, the FMLA, so we can pick back up where you left off. No, because you said something very, very powerful there. You said, "I'm not the thoughts in my head."
hmm,
That's that's huge. So yes, it did take that one person to believe in you to get you to realize it, but
yeah,
ultimately you have to realize it, and that's where like I don't want to say I butt heads, but like I disagree with some of the, and I'm saying some of the practices in the mental health space. So now I'm not a doctor, and that's the first thing people will say. Well, you're not a doctor. I said, you're right, I'm not, but I've been through stuff. I've been through
right,
stuff in my life. I've gotten through stuff in my life. Like I don't think the answer should be here. Take this pill for the rest of your life.
right,
You know what I mean? Like I don't think
yeah,
like there's other ways to help people get through it. But now people that have actual disorders such as yourself, that's one thing. But anybody that feels depressed for a minute doesn't necessarily have depression. Right now they feel sad. Right? And
right, yeah,
what I tell people, I'm like, if you're happy, are you suffering from happiness?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So like
yeah,
there's different levels, right? There's different levels, but the fact that you said I'm not the thoughts in my head, that is actually what gave you those steps to move forward. And I don't even know you, just listening to you, right?
yeah,
But that was the turning point, right? So you leaned on the words of that person that showed you hope, but
hmm,
ultimately you had to decide for yourself that you're not the thoughts in your head. So that
yeah.
out of everything that you said, that was the most powerful sentence.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I'm still today, like, identifying when a thought, goes through your head, because at the end of the day, like, we're human. People are still gonna struggle with that, but it's all about, like, how to manage it. You know what I mean? It's also just like catching it. Catching when you're having,
Yes.
like those moments. I can be, like, listening to somebody and focusing on something, and then my brain goes somewhere else. Or if I'm, like, trying to do something and I just, like, have such intrusive thoughts, which is, like, something that people have. And people who struggle with, like, BPD and bipolar, like, their thoughts can get so disturbing where it can feel shame.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I had to work through as well. Is that some thoughts that I would have is just like, oh my God, am I a horrible human being? Right. But it's not me. It's
Mm.
not me. And before we got on here, you're talking about how everything you go through your life it makes, like, where we are today, like who we are like today. And so I'm also a true believer that there is like the whole mind body difference,
Mm,
like, you know, I feel like, we are renting this body that we're on. And if we go through like hell growing up, it affects the brain because the brain's growing. When you're a child, your brain is a sponge, right?
yeah.
So when you have a sponge, you're soaking things in. And when you're a child, you don't have your own identity yet. You're building this identity of who you are. And if people are constantly at you saying, oh, you are ugly, you're stupid, you're so annoying, you're hearing all of that, and that is where you're thinking, this is my identity, I hate myself.
Facts.
Yes. And then when you carry that, it affects things in your life, as I was saying, with like not signing up for things. And then when I had that person that was like in my life and I would vent to, they basically taught me like, oh, when all these dots come to you, it's like, don't, like, I mean, what their wording was, it's like, oh, block them out, but I wouldn't say block them out, just don't entertain it. But when he
Yes.
said that to me, we're like teenagers, so we didn't have as much knowledge on mental health. But now that I'm thinking back at it, I know what he meant, but I would just say, don't entertain it, because if you block things out and you just let it go to your subconscious, it's not doing anything. You don't, just in whatever
Exactly.
it goes through your head, like just let it happen. Don't fight it, because if you're gonna fight it, you make things worse. And I like
Yes.
for
Like,
people to know
go ahead.
that. Oh
Yeah.
no, I was
Like,
gonna say,
there's like that little delay. I thought you were done. Sorry, but
no, you're
no. I
fine.
tell I tell people you're only offended by what you let offend you.
Right,
It's like
for
you are
real.
totally in control, especially being in this online space. There's trolls everywhere. I don't entertain any of them. People
Mm-hmm.
will say all kind delete, 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 delete. It's like you don't have to absorb what somebody else says or thinks about you. Like
Right.
in the grand scheme of things, there's 9 billion people on this earth. Each one of our lives, we're just a drop in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
A drop. Everything that you say, not everyone's gonna like, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna like everything. And don't worry about them. Worry about the ones who embrace you. Right? I actually saw a video just yesterday where someone's like, we tend to be polite to strangers and we're like the worst version of ourselves to the ones we love. And it's
Yeah.
like, and that just hit me when I heard that. I had to watch it again. I'm like, they're so right. Like, you're gonna walk by a random person that you don't know, and they're gonna get the best version of you. But then the person that you live with, you're fussing with them over trivial stuff. Right? It's like, just think about that for a second. But my
Y-
sister put a comment up here. A lot of time, intrusive thoughts are reliving a particular moment or memory, like Uncle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, when I talk about the mental health industry, like, I'm not talking about people that have PTSD, people
yeah.
that were abused as a child, like people with actual stuff that they went through. Because for a lot of times, someone's just having a bad day and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
blame it on something. It's like, no, you're having a bad day. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. you know and
Yeah.
and that's to the average person. Like I said, if one person gets sad one time, like, you have depression. It's like, no, they're sad. It's like
Yeah.
sadness is all of those feelings are temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you have a chemical imbalance, if you've been through, to your point, if you were told you were stupid your entire life, you're growing up thinking you're stupid, and then
Yeah.
it might take an intervention of a therapist or a close friend or a podcast, for someone to realize, what, I don't have to believe that about myself. I don't. Like, if someone was to tell me you're the worst podcaster on earth, my response would be, stop watching.
Be
Right?
like, good for you. Thanks for your
Right?
opinion.
Yeah, it's that simple. Then don't watch me. Right? So,
Yeah.
right. So now you had that epiphany that you're not the thoughts in your head. How did that help you moving forward?
Well, it definitely gave me, I feel like it kind of gave me more like free will of doing things, right? It didn't hold me
Mm,
back of what I'm doing today. I mean, if you think about it, I was, like I said, I was like a girl who hated herself, felt unworthy, felt like she wasn't good enough, right? And I feel
mm,
like if I was still in that mindset, I would just be like, I feel like I would still be kind of just going down the route of, what everyone tells you what to do, right? which is like, go to college, get good grades, go to work here, then retire, and then whatever, which it's fine if you want to do that. Like, I just want to put that out there. Like, if you want to go that route and they're happy, go for it. But for me, like, it's not who I am deep to the core. Like, I am meant for more. And when I was able to detach myself from all of those like thoughts, I realized that I am here for more, right? And everything that is happening to me till to this day was basically telling me that. Like, I'm also like a huge believer in like angel numbers in the universe and everything like that. But like, just to summarize, like what happened to me the last couple of years, right? Is one thing that helped me my confidence was I started a YouTube channel in 2016, and I was scared to do that. But what got me the confidence is seeing other people who were just like me doing it. So with all those years of me doing YouTube, I gained the confidence of being on social media. See, a lot of people that, we all know are like, they're on social media to consume, but they're scared to put themselves out there.
Yes.
And it's some people who may not even care, or just may not have like the confidence. And I met a lot of people who don't want to be in front of the camera. And sometimes in my head, I'm just like, really? But like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, wait, I used to be there. You know what I mean? And we're all in different paths, and we all choose of what we want to believe and how we want to like live our lives, right? And so because of that, I now have like the skills and stuff to do social media, and I do like social media management for clients, and then that's what I make my like income. I was able to leave my full-time job, right? And to just like even have the confidence to do that. It's not easy to just leave your comfy job. Like, you need confidence, you need courage. You think that like 14-year-old Justine would have done that? No.
Yeah. To your point, because that goes back to what I said in my intro about people having to have the courage. Like, you have to be willing to take the risk. Like, if you're stuck in a rut, if you're not willing to pivot, you're gonna stay in that rut.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens. You're gonna stay in that rut. As I mentioned, walking away from my business. Now, I still rep the shirt, right? But walking away from it, leaving my clients, like leaving people who became like extended family members with me 10, 12, 13 years, to drop those keys on the desk, and I had no idea what was going to happen next. At the time, I had nowhere to live. I had no backup job. You know what I mean? But I knew I had to get out of that situation. Like, if I don't step away, nothing good is going to happen. Like, I have to step away, even though I had no path forward. But I had to do it. And once I got out of my own way, because like I said, depression is real. So initially, I was beating myself. I was drinking like a fish. It's like, I couldn't believe I let my life get that far, like to get that dark. But it was once, and I was brushing my teeth, and I just caught myself in the mirror. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? It's like, you're better than this. I was like, you built RBF Fitness from nothing. Let's do it again. And then once I got in that proper mindset, the doors just started opening. See, because when you're stuck in the sea of depression, you can't see the opportunities. The opportunities are there, but when you're just stuck looking in, you can't see it. So it's like, once I took those blinders off, like, the doors just started opening left and right. And it was like, wow, it's like, I could have done this 2 months ago, but instead I holed myself up in my room. Like I said, I was drinking like a fish, and I was just wallowing in that self-misery. But like, the second I got myself out of it, going back again to what you said, this is not me.
Yeah.
And then once I got back to me, all the doors opened.
Yeah. And then also, when you don't have, like, also just knowing that all these people who called you all of these like bad things, like stupid, ugly, weird, like, they're not in your life anymore. Don't let them chain you down to what you are meant to do and to achieving things. Like, that's like, it's like, who cares about them? They don't exist. They don't exist in your life. And so I think just disconnecting and just realizing, like, they're not, like, no one's bullying me anymore, And I had a thought like a couple of months ago, realizing that the bullies are not in your life anymore. You're not being bullied, right? But it's like, you're kind of like bullying yourself with the intrusive thoughts, and realizing like I'm being my own bully. I need to work on that. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
like that was like a whole realization. And I just wish like most people like if would could know that when they feel like they don't have the confidence, and like I know they're having those bad thoughts go through their head. And anyone who feels like that, it's like it makes me like kind of sad because I want to help, but also like you were saying, like there's different ways of helping people and like different styles. And it's like I don't really know who has what style, obviously. But it's like I know that there's been probably a bully in their life or someone that did something to them as a child. And I see it. Depression is a dark that blinds you. Yeah, no, for real. And I also like to
Absolutely.
talk about like depression is like these like sunglasses, right? Like dark sunglasses, and you're looking at it. Like think about it like this, like a sunglasses. Obviously, things are darker,
Yeah.
right? That's
Hmm.
depression. And then when you take it off, you're like, oh my god, the world actually like doesn't suck, you know?
Yes.
It's like learning how to just take off those sunglasses. And of course I'm not gonna say like I would never, I just realized when I said that, like I don't want to look like, oh, snap out of it. It's definitely not like that. But it's also just like
Yeah.
for
There's
just a
levels.
second, you just need 1 second to realize like, okay, I'm experiencing depression. This is not life. Like, just this kind of overpowering that and like breaking free of that.
Mm. See,
Yeah.
see, and people have to understand the power of the mind. And I'm going to use a fitness reference. So I mentioned earlier I coach high school track and field. So I had them doing a wall sit. So today we had done a minute and a half. But just to prove to them how powerful their mind is, I had them do a 3 minute one, but I didn't tell them it was going to be 3 minutes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought we were going to do a minute and a half. And while they were doing it, I was telling them a story, right? So they were engaged with me and less on their legs burning. And so when we hit the 3 minute mark, I was like, how long do you guys think we held for? They were all like, minute and a half, minute and a half. A couple said 2 minutes. I said 3 minutes. I said, I doubled your time and you guys didn't even realize it. Like
Uh-huh.
that's how powerful the mind is. So what you focus on, that's what's going to come to fruition. So if you focus on all of your struggles,
Mm-hmm.
you every day is going to be a struggle for you. Now I'm not acting like I don't have struggles in my life. When struggles arrive, I deal with them and move on. Because
Right.
I have a bigger mission. Like the mission of this podcast is to inspire other people. Right? I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time to be wallowing in depression because then I won't be able to inspire other people. Like I'm working on my second book now too, to inspire other people. Like I want to leave so much stuff behind. So when
Mm-hmm.
my time is up, the things that I've gone through can still be left to inspire other people. So that mission is what gets me through the tough times. Like, all right, we just got to patch this up and we got to move forward because we got stuff to do because there's people that need to hear this message.
And I feel the same way. Like when I'm building the brand Mentally a Badass, like I always think in my head, like if, whenever I pass away, I don't want Mentally a Badass to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would hope by then that it will be something that someone can like take over, or there's people or employees or whatever. But like that's like when you were saying is like, yeah, you go through your struggles, but like you want to inspire people, right? To like pretty much get to where you are today. And that's like the same for me. Like I said, like if you met me like over a decade ago, like I was so different. And it took me a long time to get to where I am today with my confidence, because like I said, I meet people who had the confidence I had when I was 14 years old, and I want to be that person to help them go from that to where I am today. And I've seen myself like actually influence people, like people that are really close to me and such. Like I've seen the influence that I've had on people, right? Like
Mm.
Ariel, she's the other co-founder of Mentally a Badass. And when I first met her, she didn't have much confidence in her abilities, right? So
Mm.
we bonded over the love of like photo shoots, like modeling. I was like an inspiring modeling, and she had her like camera like do as a hobby, right? And she is such a very talented person, right? And but actually, I didn't know at the time she was. But when we did our first photo shoot, I can tell that she didn't have the confidence. I can tell she was anxious. I can tell that she didn't believe that she can be a good photographer, right? But then we'll do some photos. And then I looked at her camera. I'm like, Ariel, this is really good. But she
Mm.
couldn't see that.
Yep.
That's like she couldn't see that. And then now, like, she's also was one of those people who wouldn't be in front of the camera. Remember, I was talking to you about that. Now, if you go Mentally Badass, you see her face all the time because
Yeah.
she's confident to do that. And you know what it is? It's like I kind of like I didn't say like, oh, do it or that's it. Like I obviously helped her get to it, like maybe like one video a week or whatever. But now she does like
Mm.
all her videos like to like her showing her face and talking to the camera. And
Yes.
I've been friends with her since 2017. And like she is such a different person. I mean, she still has her moments where like certain parts of her life that she's still not like fully like confident yet, but it's okay. It's a work in progress. But I would say once she met me, like she's actually confident with like the photos that she take. We did a photo shoot recently for like these headshots I need to do, and she didn't show any moments of like I don't know if these are good. Like she was confident. Like she like it
Mm.
was just so much better. And then
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm seeing more of her face on Mentally Badass, and now I see her doing it for her own like art brand. And it's
Okay.
because I believed in her. I helped her like I want to obviously give her props to herself because she made the choice to go there. But I really feel like I influenced that. And I feel like with my boyfriend too, and he's probably listening to me right now because he's in the room. But before he met me, and I'm sure he doesn't really care what I say, but like he was doing like partying all the time and things and like in that world, right? Now
Yeah.
he like never drinks, like barely ever drinks. If we drink, it'll be like if we're going to like a I don't know, social or whatever, but like he barely does. He has like no interest. But back then he was drinking a lot because he was depressed.
Yeah.
And like that was just his like lifestyle. Also, it's like who
Yeah.
you surround yourself with too, you know what I mean? But
Bingo.
like I'm a different person compared to all of his friends in his life. Like I don't like majority of his friends I don't relate to them, but like he moved here and like we've been dating for 3 years and he's like a different person. Like he's like enjoying the gym, like he goes to the gym, like he's just also just more ambitious. Like it's just so different and that like I don't and that just proves right there, you know? So I want to do that on a bigger scale. Like that's my goal with Mentally a
Yes.
Badass.
Love it. So one thing I want to mention about confidence is that people have to realize confidence isn't something you have. Confidence
Mm-hmm.
is something you build.
Right.
Like I'm a seasoned speaker, right? I'm a seasoned speaker on the things that I'm well versed in. If you ask me to talk about neuroscience right now, it's not happening, right? Because I'm not skilled in that area, right? And that's what people have to understand. Like I love to hike, I love mountains, but if there's say like if you're walking on the side of the Grand Canyon, where you could slip off, right? Where you could slip off and fall to your death. No, I'm not walking on that corner. That's also smart and not smart too with that particular scenario. But you get the point though. So confidence comes with practice.
Right.
It's like yes, it's like you influence your friend to practice. Telling her do one video a day, then do 2 videos a day. She became practice, and then she built the confidence to get on camera. It's like that's what people
Yeah.
have to understand because like public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the world. I think it's like top 3, I want to say. But I tell people it's like you're afraid of public speaking because you don't publicly speak. Right? If you do it more, then you'll do it. If I decide to study neuroscience, I can go speak at a neuroscience event. But like that's not my lane. So I'm not gonna pick that lane. So just like I tell people, education is relative. It's like if you have a degree in let's say engineering, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you have an engineering degree, that doesn't qualify you to speak at a medical event, right?
You're
So
right.
education is relative, and
Mm-hmm.
confidence is relative, and you're just gonna become skilled in whatever it is that you focus on. Because I love it when people say I'm highly educated. I'm like, yes, in that field. I was like, can you come to my gym and speak about fitness? Probably not,
Yeah,
right? So
they're two different things.
exactly, and once people understand that, like it makes life so much better. It's like we are here to carve whatever niche we want to carve, and we
Mm-hmm.
want to feed that niche. But people try to be something to everyone, and you
Yeah.
can't. You're going to stress yourself out if you try to get to everyone. Like the people that watch this show, they're here to hear the stories of overcoming. They're
Mm-hmm.
here to share, to share in the comments. Like my sister, I was so nervous my first time speaking until I started speaking. Exactly, because we focus on things that haven't happened yet. People are like, well, what if I forget my words? What if I say something and people laugh? Or what if they're supposed to laugh and they don't laugh? It's like you're worried about all of these what ifs. Just get up there and be you, and you live with
Yeah.
the result.
I mean, what they say is anxiety. At the end of the day, anxiety is so simple, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the easiest way of explaining it. And it's like, you really think
Mm-hmm.
about it, anytime you're anxious, it's like, okay, anxiety equals fear. Okay, what's like, I don't know. I mean, another thing I want to bring up that I was kind of keeping in my head is that I love how I feel like once you're confident on something, like for me, like I'm confident on being on this podcast and talking and hosting a show and being on social media. Now I want to take it to the next level, and now I'm taking acting classes.
Love it.
And right now, like my confidence there is just not how it is here. You know what I mean? And like the teacher, she recognizes that, and it's her that's trying to, with the confidence. And the people in the class are also, we're all the same boat in the class. And I
Yeah.
like how we all talk about that we are in the same boat to just, and what I think I've learned from her, and so that's so important, is that when I'm doing, let's say, a monologue or a commercial, whatever, it's just literally, it's so simple, but just block out everybody else. Just block it out. And when I did that, like I was able to actually remember my lines. And it was fun fact, it was like a Nike commercial.
Yep.
like that's what I was like the practicing of. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just want to bring that up. Like it just makes life fun. Like once you're confident in something, like what's the next thing? You
Yeah,
know?
see, and in that scenario, that's not worrying about the fear of judgment. You just get up there and just do you. Like I know
Yeah.
when I get into the heart of my talks, I tend to talk fast. So, like you, I'm trying to go next level as well, and I joined an elite speakers program, and so being in there, you take turns talking, and the guy's always telling me, he's like, you gotta slow down. It's like you gotta slow down. I'm like, but this is just how I talk. I mean, you ever heard Ben Shapiro talk? My lord, he talks 5 miles a minute. So it's like I'm coachable, so I'm trying to input,
Yeah.
some of the feedback there, and putting in strategic pauses, because the pauses, it's like, okay, and what? Right? It keeps the audience engaged with the pauses. So I've been implementing that stuff. But there's a chapter in my book, and I actually have a keynote presentation titled "Becoming Who You Are Meant to Be." Right? So that's
Mhm.
what you're doing right now. You want to
Mhm.
take this on a bigger scale. You're taking acting classes to become who you are meant to be.
Yeah, that, and also to be in movies.
Mm.
Well, I actually really enjoy acting. It's a passion that I've actually always had. I just didn't have the confidence to go and pursue it. But now I'm at to a point where I am confident, and it's like I have free will. I can do what I want. I'm an adult. I have an
Mm.
adult mind. Let me just go and do a program and such. So it's just
Mm.
it's like my most recent breakthrough in my life.
I love it. I love it. All right. So before we break it down, is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you want to talk about? I know we didn't really talk about your podcast much. If you want to hype that up.
Yeah, I mean, my podcast is called Mentally a Badass, and essentially, it's I'm trying to make a world where it's like being vulnerable is pretty badass. There's still a lot of stigma around there where people look at others who are vulnerable and are like, "Oh, you're so weak," and especially for men who struggle with that. So essentially that's like the biggest like mission of that. And on there I interview people from all over the world, different experts. I have Robert on there as well. The episode's not up just yet, but we're getting there,
Okay.
so yeah, so pretty much like the every episode everyone has a story of how they've overcome whatever they went through. And anything that someone goes through essentially brings them to like whatever they're expert in, because they want to help others who are going through whatever they are going through. So people who are on my podcast, they went through pretty much, they went through hell, and they're proof that there's hope. So that's like the point of the podcast. But also Mentally a Badass is not just a podcast, it's like a whole brand overall. We also do sell like we have stickers, we have shirts, we have like a whole apparel side that Ariel actually designed, and because she's an artist, I'm actually wearing one right now. And it says certain like statements that people like may think of, And so remember how I told you how there's some intrusive thoughts that people feel like they're ashamed of it and they don't say anything because they feel ashamed of it. So this shirt that I'm wearing right now, it's a little depressing, but it's kind of real. And it says, I may be smiling, but I'm dead inside. Because if you think about it in reality, a lot of people, let's say someone at the grocery store or whatever, it's like you don't know what they're going through.
True.
And they can't just be like, a lot of times they're not going to be like walking around doing their grocery and just crying and screaming. You know, most times people don't do that, but they may feel like that on the inside. So I wanted to say that it's like okay to feel like that. Like there's no shame in that. So I have that on a shirt, and so yeah, people have bought it, and it's a statement. You know what I mean? And so we just started a Facebook community because the goal there is I want other people to meet each other. Because one of the biggest things that help people with their mental health is community. I would say like out of everything when it comes to helping your mental health, I would always say community. Community is number one, because if you feel alone and isolated, that's going to lead you down like a depression rat hole. You know what I mean? So like once you have people in your life and you meet people, go out and do things. Like there's people out there who want to meet other people. It's just a matter of like putting yourself out there, like on Facebook, or go to certain, Facebook groups and such, and meeting people. Once a month, I go to a Orlando creator event for people who are content creators, and I've met people through there, and it's changed my life. So it's just, that's why I created that Facebook group, is that if someone else is dealing with like, I don't know, like a toxic relationship, a narcissist or whatever, like someone else is like, hey, like I relate to you, like let's talk or whatever. It's just a great feeling. So I have that. So essentially Mentally Badass is just kind of like a powerhouse. And I like to say it's like it's a lifestyle. I mean, most people would say it's a movement, which essentially it is, but I like to make it, at the end of the day, it's like, it is kind of my lifestyle. Like when people think of Justine Rodes, they think of, oh, she's a mental health advocate, and they think of that. So yeah, I want people, I want a world where, they always say mental health talk is the norm, and that's like what they all say, but really in reality, that's like what I want. Like, so I just want to create a safe place. I just want the world to be more of a safe place.
So I'm not sure if she's still on, but this is my sister, right? You should actually connect with her. Like she's a veteran herself, and she works with veterans. So, like a lot of people, especially people who are deployed or in war zones, they go through some stuff, a lot of PTSD, PTSD and things of that nature. I think she would be good for you. I should actually have her on my show. but yeah, so if you wanna connect with her, Monique, if you're still on, if you're okay with that, I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah, I think you two should definitely connect. All right, so give us some final words here, and then we'll break it down.
Final words?
Yes.
Okay, that's a really, really good question. I think of some final words here. I mean, I would just say for people who are listening to this, who may, struggle with confidence themselves, it's like, I'm proof that there is hope, that you can get through it. Every person that Robert is interviewing on here, this podcast is here to show that you can get to where all these people that he's having on there. And it's just having that hope, and you just need like just 1 second of just believing in yourself to really get it going. Like that's the hardest part, is to just like get to that moment to believe in yourself. So I want to say, I believe in you. And if you're listening to this, I want to be that person to say, whatever thing you want to do and you don't believe in yourself, I believe in you.
I love it. Perfect way to end right there. So Justine, thank you very much. Again, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for being here. And I'm pretty sure we'll connect again in the future. Oh, here's my sister's email if you want to jot that down real quick.
Sure. Hold on.
Or snap a picture of it, whichever.
But yeah, I think snapping a picture would probably be snapping a picture would probably be the best. Let me do that, because I'm like trying to like pull up my notes app and like.
I just figured out 2 weeks ago when I started the speaker program that I can do a screenshot on my laptop. I had no idea that was a thing. Yeah, I had no idea.
Oh, I forgot I can do that.
I'm officially old.
And I know I can do that. And for some reason, I didn't do that. I don't know. Quick thinking, I guess.
That's awesome. All right, yeah. So like I said, I'll be in touch. Like I do panels and stuff too, where I bring back former guests and we pick a topic. We go round table and yes, because a lot of collaborations have come from these panels too. People have co-authored books. People have started their own shows. A couple started like a women's retreat. You know, so a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things come from these panels. So I'll let you know when I'm doing the next one.
All right, sounds good.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Oops.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.